interviews. I'm BMillzebub, and tonight I am talking to Mr. Bear, not to be confused with Brun Brun over on Twitter. How you doing tonight, Mr. Bear?
Hi, B-Mills, you horny devil. How are you?
Not feeling too horny right now, but that's a thing for like 4 or 5 hours from now.
Okay. Is that your shinning
that's
time?
not the kind of horny you're talking about.
No, thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. I've been looking forward to getting you on because I don't get to talk to. You know what? I'm actually getting ahead of myself. But I do like to start all my interviews and end them the same way. So, Mr. Bear, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Yeah, sure. Look, you can find me at YouTube/Mr. Bear Atheist. I started this year just making little videos that poke fun at theism and beliefs. And I grew up in New South Wales in Australia and Roman Catholic background. My grandparents were from southern Italy, Calabria. So they brought their religions and beliefs with them. And my mother enrolled me into Catholic school, of course. And that was my background until about last year when I finally realized that I had deconverted from Catholicism altogether and realized YouTube was a good platform to express that.
Yeah. They don't like paying us, though. That's kind of the shitty thing. YouTube doesn't tend to like atheists, apparently. But
yeah, the man. Yeah.
Dicks. I'm starting to think that the YouTube walkout people might have some kind of point, but unfortunately it tends to kind of screw over the smaller creators rather than the big ones. And YouTube is an overarching entity anyway.
Screw them, fight the power.
Basically. But yeah, so you're an Aussie. I mean, do you actually exist? What evidence do we have of this?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I'll fess up. I'm actually in Delaware, and I worked with Meryl Streep on the accent. She was great, and I'm broadcasting out of a little studio here in Delaware. There's no evidence really, unless the only way you can prove this really is look, jump on a plane. They're real. When you land, make up your own mind. That's all I can say. Unless there are 25 million actors trained by the great Meryl Streep, then there's nothing else I can provide.
Yeah, I mean, it's a living, I guess. Walking around a fake continent, pretending that you exist. I don't know.
Yeah, it's great being an imaginary being. It's fantastic.
Oh, so
I was going to say I can touch myself, but then I stopped and realized that sounded very bad.
Yeah,
let's move on.
Yeah, save that for Pornhub, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
you're better than this. No,
I'm not. But anyway,
at least not on stream. Let's try to not get the channel deleted. I like this.
Sure. Okay.
So you mentioned that you grew up Catholic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, I went to mass every Friday in our primary school. So in primary school, there's kindergarten right up to year 6. So right up till I was 11 or 12 years old. I went through the whole Holy Communion. I went through the confirmation. I believed I received the Holy Spirit when I was probably 11. I was in church with my family, friends. It was our special night, as I'm sure you've gone through this. I'm only assuming, but I'm sure you have. And I was convinced that I prayed really hard and received the Holy Spirit. And the problem was that I was asking questions, as all kids do. And so from a very early age, I was asking questions about the flood. And realizing years after that no matter how hard I tried, couldn't find anything that backed up a global flood. There was no one else mentioned it, and it's those little seeds of doubt that gnaw into the back of your mind as you grow up. So yeah, growing up Catholic was special at the time as a kid because you feel included, right?
Makes sense.
And, yeah, and so I loved it when I was a kid. I loved it. A lot of it didn't make sense when I was a kid, as most do, and it depends, I suppose, on how far you want to challenge that. As soon as you ask questions at home, if you're met with a violent response, you stop asking questions. Obviously, luckily, my mother was quite progressive. She was an Italian Australian, so she was born in Italy, but when she came here, she was 10 years old in 1957. So she was quite progressive in terms of adapting to the Australian culture, the Australian way of life in the 60s when she was growing up. So while my grandmother was very much part of the old country, very much believing in I'm not sure if you heard of the Malocchio, which is the evil eye in southern Italy. It's just that thing. It's like if you believe someone's given you the evil eye, you carry out a little tradition, which is you fill a bowl of water, you put 4 drops of olive oil in the water. If they form a circle, that means you've been cursed with the evil eye. It comes from old religions and pagans and so on, traditions. Even Plato refers to this. And so I would see this at my grandmother's house, and she'd make the sign of the cross to remove the curse, and so all these old traditions. And I was witness to that and believed, okay, there is an evil eye, there is this Malocchio thing that existed, so you had to break the curse. So that was one of the superstitious side of the Roman Catholicism, that it leaked into that culture. Luckily, my mother didn't practice that, so I haven't carried on that awkward tradition. Thankfully.
It's not something I'm familiar with.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's called the other one is another thing is called the cornuto, which is it's like a chili shaped figure. If you look up cornuto, which is CORNUTTO, the cornuto is like the evil eye. It's a very old traditional Italian tradition where people believed if other people were cursing you or giving you the evil eye, so you had to break the curse. Very, very, very old tradition. Yeah. And absolutely bizarre when you learn about it.
Let's see here.
I'll
have to look Google, that up later on.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, even Google Images, you'll see this little weird figure pop up. He's got like a red tail and it's a man with a top hat and a horseshoe. So it's kind of like a good luck spirit.
All right, then. That's, yeah. That's, all right.
You can tell the old school Italians driving around in Australia because they have it hanging from their rearview mirror.
All right. So, I mean, would you say that's one of the wonkier things that you remember from the Catholic Church? Or?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. It was just bizarre, and I never understood that.
Yeah. Now, is that like just Italian tradition, or?
I believe so. Because it's different for the regions of Italy, but for the southern part of Italy, it's a very old tradition. Yeah, as far as I know.
All right. So, I mean, you've only been. How long did you say you've been an atheist? About a year now?
Yeah, it was around this time last year. Yeah.
Oh, so you're just a baby atheist then.
I am. That's right. I am. I'm a wee baby atheist. That's right. I'm very new to the whole scene, man.
Oh, and yet you're somehow a full-grown bear. The logic isn't fitting. You know, I don't know, the whole Australian thing too. It's none of the pieces are fitting together. You must be fake news.
It is a bizarre thing. I mean, I believe I've been atheist for a very long time, really. You know, when I think about it, when I started to learn about infant mortality rates and kids with tumors, kids with cancer, I lost a cousin, my wife's cousin. She was 10 to a brain tumor, and then you start to realize what you believed. My auntie lost a baby as well. One of my cousins, she passed as a baby, and you start to realize what you firmly believe as something like God's plan, and really doesn't make any sense at all when you see the reality of what's going on. These things aren't talked about. These things aren't exposed. No one talks about miscarriage and losing their child. It's a taboo. It's a cultural taboo. So ultimately, when you find out about these things, you ask yourself, what plan and how can that be a lifetime? People, it's always dismissed as, well, they had a lifetime. That's all God gave them. What kind of a lifetime is a stillborn? I mean, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense at all. So these were the seeds that started to grow even from a young age, went through my teens and 20s, and realized that I was outliving people even at that age, and realized, okay, well, that sucks. This benevolent, benevolent God sucks dog balls. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a pretty gruesome plan if it involves babies being stillborn, or demands that people wage war in its name. It's a bad plan, really.
It's a horrendous plan, especially when you know everything. It's a pointless plan. Let's make this person. I mean, they say God is written on your heart when you're born, and so a plan to me means you're achieving something. You're working on achieving something. So to simply say, "Oh, it's God's plan," is completely disingenuous in the most horrendous way. So yeah, so all those things, learning that, and also realizing things like it's non-theistic things like space, the distance in space. So when you learn about the space program, the Apollo missions, and you realize how far they had to go to the moon, and then you realize how far Mars is, and then we're talking hundreds of millions of miles, and then we're talking about the closest galaxy being 25,000 light years, I believe, is the closest one. And I think once you start contemplating those things that are completely unrelated to anything theistic, once you start to grasp that massiveness of space, and you realize, wow, we're just a tiny, insignificant rock. And because as a kid, right, the world revolves around you. You're the world, right? You're the universe.
Yeah.
Suddenly, when you realize that's not the case, you realize other people have their own universes in their head. Other people have their own wishes and thoughts and dreams, and other people pass away, and so on. And you realize, okay, well, I'm not the universe, and that realization is a huge step away from any theistic belief in a monotheistic God. Yeah, it's amazing when you realize your own mortality. Things fall into place, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the space analogy actually is one I've, kind of played around with in my head a little bit, because I mean, we live on what, in comparison to the universe amounts to a speck of dust in a slightly bigger speck of dust over a solar system, and a slightly bigger speck of dust in the galaxy, which is a slightly bigger speck of dust with a cluster of galaxies, super cluster of galaxies. It's
so finely tuned. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's an absolute miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, but what really matters is one Jewish tribe on about the tiniest speck of dust you can manage.
That's right. I choose them right
region
there.
of the world.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right. Exactly right. Don't worry about the Aboriginals. Don't worry about the Native Americans. It's those guys over there. They need to know about me.
Yeah, it's when you put it in that kind of perspective, theism looks pretty silly.
Well, it's fan fiction, really. It's it's bad Twilight. So, people add on to it and add on to it and add on to it, and the more fantastic it gets, the less believable to me it gets. Especially when you realize that all the how influential the popes were during the centuries from Peter onwards. When you realize that they were issuing bulls about this belief and that practice and this practice, and you realize that people hold on to these ideas. And really, all they are is it's Lord of the Rings. It's like, here's an idea. There's a ring that controls everything, and it's like, well, here's an idea. This guy died for our sins. Oh, right, what an idea! Wow. So you realize that people latch onto this. It's akin to me. I mean, it's a slightly false dichotomy. I understand that, but in terms of concept and idea, I find a familiarity. I can't say the word. I can't talk. I find a likeness to that idea. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you do see a lot of similarities in these stories going through history. I mean, actually, I own the Chronicles of Narnia series, which, if you can ignore all the obvious Christian allegories, is actually a really good series of books.
It is. Yeah. If you can turn off that, if you take away that, they are good. It's way too obvious, though, isn't it?
Yeah, Aslan is a very obvious metaphor or allegory for Jesus.
No, spoilers.
Oh, come on. Everyone has at least read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Everyone has. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing you have to do in like middle school. I mean, it's a tiny little book anyways, like that thick. But
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I gave it a go. And like you say, it's a good story for a fantasy story. It's good. But the Bible has some fantastic parables in there as well.
I mean, throughout literature, you see a whole bunch of tropes repeating, and but probably most centrally in like biblical literature, religious literature, you see a lot of the hero's journey, which is something you can absolutely ascribe to Jesus. You could ascribe it to Moses, Muhammad. Of course, there actually is evidence that Muhammad was a real person, but all the same, you see the hero's journey a lot in religious literature.
Yeah, that's very true. That's right. Yeah, there's an element of the underdog with David and Goliath and so on, and to make it more relatable to people, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I mean, like, what was the thing that the straw that finally, I want to say, broke the camel's back, but you're a bear, so I don't think that particular
Mac Revolution, here we come. Yeah,
I'm not sure that particular phrasing works, but what's the final thing that got you to be like, okay, the Catholic Church is bullshit, religion is bullshit, the idea of deities is bullshit, I'm an atheist now?
It's very tricky because, like I say, for many years, I was there. Really, I realized how ridiculous things were. I suppose I really did realize. I finally realized when one of the things that I realized. I was reading a New Scientist magazine about the origins of life and abiogenesis and so on. And I realized when one of the things that stuck out to me recently was when I realized that a tree, for example, isn't a tree. It's really just what we label it for language purposes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like a tree is just a thing, okay? And then you realize, well, if we weren't here, they would be. So, for example, if those branches that led to humanity weren't there, the world would be as it is: grass, trees, water, so on. But they would be just as they are. So when I realized that element of the world, which I suppose can be a world view, I don't know, but when you take away all the labels and what we know, what everything is, take away language, and all of a sudden you're left with something that is what it is, well, then I suppose that was an element that made me say, well, I'm grateful for my life and I'm happy I'm here and make the most of it, because knowing, like I say, mortality and my own mortality and people, I've outlived people. It's a matter of making the most of what you've got. And that's the way I live my life now. And I realized it works without any supernatural deity hanging over me with stupid rules that make no sense.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah, the vast majority of those rules govern what you do with your penis.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And
if you don't believe me, read Leviticus, everybody. Just
oh God.
as soon as you're done, go crack open a Bible, read Leviticus. I'm telling you, the vast majority of what you're going to read has to do with a penis.
That's right. And if you've got some really good prejudices, this is a crutch to hold on to. Just grab that Bible and use it as a crutch for your prejudices. Go for it. You hate gay people? Great. They're in there. It's good. You got God on your side. It's stuff like that. I mean, how many of us know gay people? I know two cousins of mine are gay. My wife has 3 gay cousins. It's like, this isn't anything that's abominable. It's just how it is. It's just how people are.
Yeah.
And then again, when you realize that, oh my God, they're human. They laugh, they cry, they bleed. What the hell is everyone so hung up about? No, that's right. They're prejudiced and they're ignorant and they don't know any gay people or associate with them. Therefore, the Bible says that. Great. I'm hanging on to it. It's disingenuous. It's crap.
I agree. The idea that homosexuality or really any point on the spectrum other than, like the very, very end where it's like, I'm heterosexual, nothing else is good, it's all bad, it's all wicked.
Right.
The idea that any of that, it's absurd. It's absurd to say that this is the only way to be.
It is. It is. Of course. Yeah, look, I agree. 100%.
Plenty of gay people out there that try to live the heterosexual life and they hate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's evidence for that now. The gay conversion therapy doesn't work. It's been denounced by the people who created gay conversion therapy, most of them anyway. We can see it doesn't work. It's been proven not to work. It's demonstrable it doesn't work. Leave it alone. Move on. It's time to get over this iron-aged, rubbishy thought from Israel. It's just ridiculous. Move on.
Yeah, and actually with that, we are going to move on. So what is it that got you to start making videos?
I was browsing YouTube. I have two boys, and they use YouTube a lot. They're big gamers. My eldest is back into Fortnite now, and my youngest is a big Minecraft fan, obviously. And I assumed wrongly when YouTube came out that it was pretty much just for gamers and films and trailers and things like that, until I went onto YouTube myself a couple of years ago and realized that there were a lot of people talking out about theistic beliefs and so on. Godless Cranium was one of my first suggested thumbnails that I saw and clicked on and watched and realized, wow, YouTube, you can do this on YouTube? I know that sounds really naive. Really stupid. But I realized, wow, this is great. Anyone can do this. And I have a bit of a filmic background. I've made a low-budget horror film, and I'm actually a crime writer in real life. So I've written 2 crime fiction books, and so I'm pretty creative that way. I enjoy it. I enjoy editing. So I realized, well, let's do something for me. Let's do something that pokes fun at these guys. And I sort of took the same format as Godless Cranium with the avatar and responding to videos, and found that I really loved it. I was making myself laugh, and so I hoped the plan was to include some laughs, but also in there include some factual things as well that hopefully people can take away and look for themselves. And that's why I include sources in all my videos. People can go to the sources and look for themselves and realize, okay, this person's coming from a place that they've obviously considered what's being said, thought about what's being said, provided a good counter argument to what's being said based on something that's factual, not emotional, and not made up from the recesses of people's brains, the fear centers of their brains. And so it was just a bit of fun, really. That's all.
Yeah. So why a bear? I'm curious.
Okay. It's my wife's nickname for me when we met. You know, things got heated, the shirt came off, and I became Mr. Bear. I'm fairly hirsute in real life. It's all originals, 1970s growth here, so the whole waxing thing, it's marketing. It's marketing. Just don't wax. You don't need to.
I mean, if you want good motivation to never wax, watch 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I agree.
All of those takes. Like I was watching with the commentary once.
So was I. Yeah.
That was all real. He was really having.
He actually risks losing a nipple. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't really an expert. She wasn't really an expert, which made it hilarious. The lady doing it. It's one of my favorite movies. I love it. Even just the commentary, like you say. Sometimes I've had that movie on in the background while doing other things. It's just great.
Oh yeah.
The bag of sand, it's great.
And I know the jokes aren't PC at all, but like you know how I know you're gay bit, like they recorded a solid 20 minutes of that and put it on the special features.
That's right. I can see there's a comment. Mark Caesar, he's saying Remington body hair trimmer works for me. Ooh, it might be a Christmas present.
I mean, I think I'll just go ahead and keep my chest hair. It's winter here, so I'd rather stay, warm.
How cold does it get where you are?
Well, I live in Ohio, so it kind of depends, but there was one point, I think about 5 years ago, where I live was literally the coldest place on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it can run the gamut from coldest place on the planet to actually feeling like a pretty nice spring day.
Yeah, okay.
But the nice spring day thing is just a unfortunate effect of climate change. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were in Ohio. Is the National from Ohio, the band? I love the National because I know one of their songs, Blood Buzz Ohio. That's one of my favorites. I think they may be from Ohio originally. I don't know. Anyway,
not sure.
That's okay.
So what would you say the goal of your channel is? Just to have a laugh, or
hopefully, look, first to have a laugh, and then also to make people think a little bit. Just provide some facts in response to what's being put online. I mean, I think that anyone who puts anything online that's pretty much just based on a belief, a chosen belief, a belief that's unproven, should be challenged and criticized. It's really just a criticism. I'm not saying don't believe. I'm not saying give up your religion. I'm just saying ask questions, explore, look, think, criticize, be rational. You can still hold on to the belief. That's okay. As long as my philosophy is this: any negative action that originates from an ideology, I'm against. And I'm sure you're the same. I'm assuming you're the same way, of course.
Yeah.
And that's the basis. It's not the religion itself. It's just the actions that come from an ideology that's simply unproven. I'm completely against that. I'm not necessarily anti-theist. I know that religion does do bad things for the world and for people, but I'm not quite completely anti-theist. I'm more just critical and providing a counterpoint with a few laughs along the way, hopefully.
So probably a pretty decent summation would be, if you're going to believe something, make sure it's for a good reason.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's like the is it the Baha'i faith that picks and chooses the good bits out of all religions. I think it's the Baha'i faith. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's picking all the good bits, use the good bits. It's like Catholic Mass when they read from the New Testament, every single Mass, right?
No.
The fish analogy, the not recognizing Jesus analogy, all those ones, the Good Samaritan. Sure, keep those ones close to your heart. They're good. Ignore the rest.
Yeah, because the rest has literally caused wars.
That's right. That's exactly right. Wars, anguish, pain, misery. Yeah. Ignore those ones. If you really want to believe, go for it. But use the good bits. Yeah.
It's one of those occasions where being a cherry picker is definitely a good thing.
That's right.
I really do. I really would prefer religious people to be cherry pickers. I would. It's not even a question.
Yeah. Can you believe that my brother brought some cherries here last night, because where I am it's good cherry picking. It's cherry picking season, right? So it was a really good analogy to say, because my brother's still quite Catholic. He doesn't practice, but he still holds on to those beliefs. And it was funny when he brought a kilo of cherries to my house last night. I said, "Ah, you've been cherry picking, have you?" And it just went over his head, So it's fun to do those little jokes as well, just to amuse myself. I have to.
Actually, there was a word that some Catholics who actually take it seriously use for people like your brother who aren't actually practicing. It's
right.
cradle Catholic. They basically just show up for Easter the one time a year they actually have to.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's actually a thing.
My brother is hilarious. At Easter on Good Friday, he still goes to McDonald's. He my mother, being very traditional, she cooks garfish, John Dory, a lot of seafood for Good Friday. I go there and have a nice seafood banquet on Good Friday. My brother still insists on getting a Big Mac, so he's probably more atheist than me in that regard.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking fish. I mean, when I'm with my family, when it's Lent, I'll eat fish. I don't care if fish. I love fish. It's delicious.
Yeah.
I don't do it for any of the religious jiggery pokery. It's
same. Because my mum's a good cook, and but it's hilarious. My brother justifies it by saying, when you can't have something, you want it more. So when you can't have meat, he really wants meat, and he'll most likely get the double Big Mac or whatever they have. It's just he really rubs it in my mum's face. But he's not the one who's anti-religious. It's hard with my family, because as soon as you start talking about that, they're quite irrational and emotional. So it's really quite hard. In the end, they just say, well, you have to believe in something, and that's the end of the conversation. It's very, very hard to have them criticize their beliefs. So Easter, Christmas is challenging. I just avoid the whole thing.
So how's your family reacted to you not being Catholic anymore?
Oh, they don't really know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're
I'm in the closet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife knows. My kids go to Catholic school. Actually, my youngest goes to Catholic school. We enrolled him when I was still Catholic, and my eldest goes to a public school. We have discussions in the car. I don't bring it up. That's one of the things I don't really do unless they talk. They talk about it. They ask questions, and then we discuss. And I really just talk to them in questions. I ask them what they think about this or think about that. I don't want to put it onto them, but they've pretty much figured it out by themselves. They're 12 and 14, so they're pretty good kids. They've worked it out. Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You're good. I do that all the time.
Oh, that's right. I'm pretty much in the closet. Yeah, my wife knows. I mean, she uses God as a way to live a good life. We're not churchgoers. We don't. When we go to church, she's the one tapping me on the arm, saying, rolling her eyes. We went to my youngest son's pantomime at his school, and it was the Christmas elves versus superheroes. And in the end, they realized, who's the real hero of Christmas? You know who? And that's when my wife tapped my arm and rolled her eyes. So she is pretty much there as well. She hates the dogma. She hates the superiority of religion. She hates that aspect of religion. But she still uses God as a way to live her life, which I'm cool with. That's okay.
Well, I mean, that the way you just described that play ending just sounded so cringy.
That's right.
Like, how could you not have an eye roll kind of response?
That's right. Exactly. Oh, I see another Aussie there, Vagrant Sam. Hi there. He's another fellow Aussie. Purple rhymes with orange. Hi there.
Got a whole lot of imaginary people.
That's right. That's right. Another actor trained by the great Meryl Streep. He's got Vagrant Sam's Aussie accent is unbelievable. It's good.
Oh yeah, there's you, Vagrant Sam, Not Jaw Witness.
Yeah.
Navadia.
Yeah.
Who else?
We've got
Osman Comet.
Sarah Michelle. She's another up and coming one. She's just talked to Holly Kool-Aid. He's in Australia, so she's done an interview with Thomas. Yeah, so she's an up and coming one too. She's quite good, Sarah Michelle. Navadia, of course. There's Jen's Lil Corner, of course. She's out there. Yeah, there's quite a few of us out there now. An atheist pastor. He's actually, sorry, I should say that in an American accent. American pastor. Atheist pastor is what I meant to say. Sorry, atheist pastor. He's quite good too. He's funny. He's got a very religious background, but has obviously deconverted. So there's a few of us out there now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty good American accent, but I don't think American accents are that hard to fake.
No, they're not. I was in Brooklyn for a while. I have some Italian relatives in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst. And they're all, forget about it. Hey, what are you doing? Don't touch my calzone, forget about it. And, and I'm there, g'day, how you going? Yeah, how are you? And they're like, oh my God, listen to this guy. They just couldn't believe how I sounded. And that was great. They're so upfront, and America has different accents, right? You got your Californian accent, which is very sort of nasal, and then you got your Midwestern. Yeah, like I like listening to Godless Engineer because he's just hilarious when he does his Bruce Cephas character, the Alabama character. It's just fantastic. Screw you all, this sort of stuff. And then you've got the New York thing as well, and it's very similar to Australia. We've got very nasally accents and different broad accents here as well. When you go north, they're very, very laid back. G'day, how you going, mate? How are you? He's what was that? Even Australians can't understand them. So yeah, it's very, like I can understand why Americans didn't really understand the Aussie accent for a long time. It's because you do get very broad accents, and yeah, depending on where you are.
Yeah, I actually think that the one place in the world that might have like the largest selection of accents when speaking the English language is pretty much the entire United Kingdom because over a tiny amount of space, there are a lot of accents.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's true. The Cockney, the Northern, the London, yeah, they're all quite distinct. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Yeah, I do love the English accent. Yeah, I did go through London 98. I went through London, and it's amazing how you hear an Australian accent out of all that. You really hone in on that. It's quite distinct again from the English accent, and so you feel like you've met a fellow Aussie and so far from home. But the amazing thing was we went to Canada. We went to Big White in 2015, snow season, and for a bit of skiing and so on. Took the kids, and so here I am on the other side of the world. We go into this market, the small market, and it's an Aussie from my hometown who serves me at the supermarket. It's just, it blows you away that the world gets smaller, but also the world is changing as well. Yeah, yeah. So
See, maybe it's because I'm an American. I don't really notice that much of a difference between English and Australian accents.
yeah, yeah. You're forgiven. You're forgiven for that. Yeah.
I don't really have an ear for it, but I don't know. To someone that knows the nuances between the two, I'm sure it's very noticeable. But
Yeah, it can be. Speaking of travel was also one of the things that made open my eyes quite a bit as well. Um, Meeting people outside of your hometown is really, really, I really encourage that as well because you really see how others live and believe what they believe as well, and that really opened up my eyes when I met Muslim people, when I met Buddhists and so on, and just their backgrounds, why they believe what they believe. I think that's a big step towards deconverting as well.
yeah, and I mean, even if it's not part of the deconversion process, traveling is just a good idea to you
Yeah,
know learn
yeah.
about different cultures. How people think.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
very
If you
similar with learning a foreign language too. It teaches you a new way to think.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point because that comes down to that language, how we label things, and how we consider things. Because ultimately, we're all human, and we all feel the same way. But it's funny how you go to other countries and the local colloquialisms in terms of how they phrase things can mean completely different things, and that's incredible too. That in terms of interpretation, which is again what religion does, right? Especially Christianity. It's all about interpretation, how people in different cultures see things, right?
Yeah.
How it applies to them in their culture. Um, yeah, and that opens your eyes as well in terms of language, how it's used. Okay, this came from this originated here because of these reasons. It's why some people like to manipulate Bible verses by saying, well, in the Greek it means this, and in the Hebrew it means that. Well, thanks for making it so clear, God. Yahweh, great writing. You know, you could have 10 people in the same room and the same verse means different things.
Yeah. 10
So
different
clear.
things.
10, exactly. 10 different things.
Mm-hmm.
All knowing. Question mark. Mm.
I mean, for being omnipotent and all knowing, he's a pretty shitty communicator.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. We can all agree on that. But it's
I
the
hope.
word. It's the word. Okay? It's the word and it must be respected.
Uh, if not for like
Joking.
how the
Joking.
paper feels,
Yeah.
I would be perfectly willing to wipe my ass with the Bible, but I don't like the feeling of paper. It's no.
You should use mine. Mine is fantastic. I've got one here at home, and it's got very, very soft, beautiful paper pages. They're almost got aloe vera on them. It must be, yeah. It may have been designed for that purpose. I don't know.
Oh, damn, that's fantastic.
Double the use. Yeah.
Oh, the hell.
Oh, I see purple rhymes with orange. She's in the comments there. She says, what did she say there? Something about they thought she was Canadian when she moved from Minnesota to New York. There you go. That's interesting. Wow. Talking about accents.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Minnesota's right there on the Canadian border, so
right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. So kind of gotta wonder. Is there, like, do you have a particular favorite video you've made, or like a series of videos? Anything you're most proud of?
Yeah. Look, I've liked making fun of. It's the one that's got the most views, and it's where I make fun of. Well, should I say, criticize the street preacher Philip Blair. He was in my country a couple of years ago, and if you look at the one from Philip Blair, he was on a Sydney train, and basically people just told him to be quiet. Please be quiet. Keep your opinion to yourself. They they were questioning him, and it was just so great. And that video went viral. The actual original video went viral here, and the guy who was telling Philip Blair to just please keep your opinion to yourself. I'm trying to read a book here. Became a minor hero in our country because it was so great. It was so great that someone was speaking out against these noisy preachers preaching on a train. All they're trying to do is get home. Keep your opinion to yourself, please. That was a good reaction. And then I looked at all of Philip Blair's other videos and realized just how contradictory his behavior was to the ideology, and just how he wasn't converting anybody to the ideology. And that made me realize, wow, this stuff really needs to be criticized and poked fun at. And that one's got the most views, and that's one I'm probably most proud of as well.
Oh. Purple, what do you mean by did you get it from a priest? I'm not following what you're saying there, Perp, but
is that STD related, or
I really hope not, because shit. If you got it from a priest, there's probably like 1,000 other people that, yeah.
That opens up a whole can of worms. Did you get it from a priest? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I have heard quite a few things about Australia banning different fundy preachers. What do you think about all that?
Oh, that was the Stephen Anderson thing, wasn't it? Yeah, he was banned from New Zealand.
One of them.
Yep. Look, when you're an individual who has been banned from 30 plus countries, that's on you. You need to consider what it is you're saying, the effects of what it is you're saying, and really, I mean, he's not going to change. He just finds this in the instance of Stephen Anderson. It's he feels violated and bullied and so on. So just paraphrasing, but these sort of people need look, I agree with it. We don't need it here. We don't need that here. We don't need hate speech. We don't need more prejudice than there already is. We have something in Australia called, what our Prime Minister calls, the quiet. What does he call it? oh God, it slipped my mind now, but he calls it like the quiet Australians, which are like the quietly religious Australians and so on. Who, yeah, it's just a strange thing in this country. We just don't need that. We don't need that. I'll speak on behalf of New Zealand. They don't need it either. So yeah, I agree with it. I agree with it. If you're coming here to say those sorts of things, we don't need it. Goodbye.
Oh, Purple was talking about the Bible pages covered in lotion.
Oh, okay. Yes. I did actually buy my Bible from a church. Yes. So it could well have come from a priest. Yeah. Yeah. It's not leaking oil or anything like that. It's not. It doesn't have any supernatural powers. I've read it twice. That was more than enough, and I keep it upside down in my bookshelf just for fun. It's an inverted Bible. No one's noticed. No one's noticed yet. It's just, again, I'm making myself laugh.
Well, here's something Purple just said that'll make you laugh even more. I'm not saying Steven Anderson will spread chlamydia among the koalas. I'm just saying it's safer if he doesn't come here.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That was part of our video. We did that with the Navadia, Jen's little corner. We just had a little message for Steve Anderson when that was going on. I'm not saying that that's what will happen, but yeah. Unfortunately, with our massive, we have about 120 bushfires burning in my state at the moment, and it's caused a massive devastation, a massive loss to the koalas. And so, if anyone out there can see anything that helps koalas, the Koala Fund, just a little plug. I don't normally do this sort of stuff, but if you can help in any way, that would be good. They've just been decimated with these massive bushfires at the moment. There's actually smoke here where I am. It's been smoky, and I'm probably, hundreds of kilometers from the fires. That's how devastating these fires are. Yeah.
Yeah. If you send me the link to the fundraiser you're talking about on Twitter, I'll put it in the description as well as the comment section. So.
Oh, cool. Good. You're a good egg.
Yeah.
You're a good egg. Okay, good. There's not anything in particular that comes to mind, but I know there are a few out there. So yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a bit of a shit show, and people will claim that climate change isn't real. People like that are kind of silly, in my opinion, at their best moments.
Especially when there's so much to show that there is something going on. It's like the flat earthers. To completely change topic, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, if we go back to climate change, I have the same problem with my in-laws. They don't believe it's happening. However, when they come to our house and work, so where I am, we're in the highlands of the state, so it does get very cold here as well. We've had snow where I am, and my father-in-law was here working in our yard. It was April, normally a very, very cold month. April last year. He had his shirt off and was sweating. It was really quite hot, unseasonably hot. And we got onto climate change discussion. We were sitting there having lunch, and he said, "Look, I don't believe in any of that. I'm sorry." And my wife said, "Yeah, but Dad, when was the last time you were working with no shirt in April, where we are, and sweating as you are in this temperature?" And he said, "I can't remember a day like this in my life." And he's 74. And all of a sudden things go quiet because he's thinking critically, right? Rather than just holding on to something because it's against what's being talked about. It's almost like I say, the link with flat earthers is that they like to be in this small group, which is anti-factual, they like to be included in this group, which is what my opinion is of flat earthers. It's a very social thing. They like to be in that group. I think the same is with climate change. They sort of like to be in this denial group for some reason, ignorance really. And but that was good just to challenge that with him and say, why is today so hot in April? And he couldn't answer. Oh, maybe it's just a freak, or it's an unusual thing that's happened. Well, not if it happens again and again and again, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand freak weather, but when 18 out of the 20 hottest days in history, as long as we've been recording it, when 18 years out of the top 20 all took place within the last 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
That should give you pause.
It should.
It's not weather at that point. It's climate, because climate is a trend. Weather is what's happening right now.
Yeah. Well defined. That's right. Exactly right. It's incredible. It's incredible. It is incredible. And that was part of the reason why our Prime Minister is being rather vilified at the moment. During the year, all the fire chiefs wrote him a letter in April saying, look, if we don't do something now, we are going to experience catastrophic bushfires in the summer. So he was pre-warned about this by all the major fire chiefs. He ignored that. They wrote again in September. He ignored that. Here we are in November experiencing the worst bushfires, I believe, on record as far as we know. Horrendous. And this could have been done, but because he's evangelical and because he doesn't believe in climate change, this is the situation we're in. So there's protests going on right now in Sydney, climate change protests going on. People are speaking out because Sydney, if you look at the moment on a live cam or something on the news, you can't see the Harbour Bridge. You can't see the Opera House. It's covered in smoke. That's how much we are suffering at the moment because our Prime Minister ignored the warning signs.
Yeah, and the very literal warnings from people who knew better.
Yeah, from the experts. Yeah, people he should be listening to, perhaps. But no, there's a fantastic cartoon. It may win political cartoon of the year. It's our Prime Minister standing in front of a wall of fire with two buckets, and the buckets are labeled thoughts and prayers. I mean, what else can you say? That's all he said about the issue. My thoughts and prayers are with everybody. He did not act. He did not do anything.
So basically, he's like the Aussie version of Americans talking about guns.
Yeah, in some ways, very, very true, but not so outspoken about it. That's what he calls it, the quiet Australians. Yeah, he's not so outspoken about it. It's more in what he doesn't do, and it's more in what he doesn't say that speaks volumes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I don't know. It's absurd to me how people can ignore facts in favor of. I don't even see how it can be a comforting fantasy, because I mean, you're literally denying reality. How is that a comfort? You know,
and your reality is very, very hard because you're standing on the same landmass as Donald Trump. I don't understand how you're not in the shower scrubbing yourself down every day, in the field position.
Who's to say I haven't?
The shame.
Hey, I don't feel shame. I voted against the fucker.
Yeah. Good.
I did my level best.
I didn't vote for my Prime Minister either. But there they are.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I might not be ashamed, but I'm definitely embarrassed.
That's right. Oh, you're only human. Come on. You're only human. Oh, it's incredible. Do you feel he's going to be impeached? Do you think it's going that way? Do you hold hope?
I wish it were.
I
don't see it though. I mean, let me put it to you this way. He's had, I don't know how many legitimate, substantive sexual assault claims against him. You know, I mean, he openly during the 2016 campaign asked Russia to look into Hillary Clinton. He did it again with Joe Biden this time around.
Yeah.
You know, from the jump, impeachable offenses, the number of laws he's broken, the ethics violations, like literally everything against him.
Mm, mhm,
I don't
mhm,
think it's going to stick. I
mm,
wish it would,
mm.
but I
Yeah.
don't think it will.
I actually predict he'll be re-elected. I don't want that to happen, but I think it will.
Well, if Biden wins the nomination or Hillary jumps in for whatever ass reason again and she wins the nomination again, yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're in for another round of that dipshit.
Yep. Yep.
But
Absolutely. And it's funny when we talk American politics here, because sometimes, again, in my family, they will say, "Well, what did Obama do?" And all you have to do is Google it, really, and just see what Obama did. Which they,
do you have any
yeah,
idea how wonderful Obamacare was for poor people?
that's
I
exactly
mean, it
right.
was shitty and
Amazing.
not nearly as big of a step as should have been taken, but it's better than what we had.
Oh my God.
You know,
We
it was
have
literally
Medicare. Yeah, we have Medicare here. Medicare is just a fantastic system. I'm always blown away by how much people in the States are paying for healthcare. It's incredible.
oh yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Have you seen that viral video? Someone's going around asking British people how much they think something is, for Medicare or medication wise or medical care wise in America.
No, no, but
Oh my
it must be
god,
hilarious. It must be hilarious.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's like 5 minutes long, and someone's just
Mm,
going around asking British people how much they think something costs in America that's medical care related, and every last one of them is stunned because
mm, mm,
someone
mhm,
thought an inhaler would have been like, what was it, $20, and it actually
mhm.
is like, shit. I get my inhalers through the VA, so I don't actually pay anything.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I'm kind of one of those socialized medicine success stories.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's something absurd, like somewhere between $80 and $200.
Wow,
And she was just
wow.
like, "Oh, so if you're poor, you're dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Welcome to America."
yeah, yeah. I was seeing a documentary where they were talking to people who voted Trump in, and there was a very poor man living in the South, living on squirrels, really, and whatever he could catch. And the reason he voted Trump in was because he believed Trump would be there for him. It's just that belief that he's rich, he's popular, he'll be there for me, he'll look out for me. And years later, he's still in this quandary of poor health, no money. It's just such a incredible piece of showmanship Trump has pulled off with that.
Yeah. Actually, I recall Trump recently said that Americans wouldn't take the NHS in Britain if it was handed to us on a silver platter. I would. I would. I already have something pretty similar, and I would take it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
right.
would take the NHS. I would.
Yeah, mm. Yeah.
I've legitimately considered moving to England for no greater reason than the NHS.
Wow, really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There
Well, I
you
mean,
go. Yeah.
I've heard story after story of, sometimes British people come over to the United States for work,
Hmm.
but when they need to go to the doctor,
Hmm.
they'll buy a plane ticket home, see their doctor in England, and then come back. And the round trip plane ride is less expensive than the medical care here.
That's amazing, isn't it? It's
We're talking
amazing to
hundreds
think.
of dollars, and it's cheaper to go back home.
But America's the greatest country on the earth.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, not with everything, unfortunately, and probably at a time, yeah, but yeah, not anymore. It's just incredible where you guys are. I really feel for you guys in that way.
yeah. Um, reasons we need to actually have a left in this country again.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist.
That's right.
There hasn't been a left in the United States for longer than I've been alive.
And that's because of who controls the White House, right? That's because of the family and so on, right? And I mean, there's other things going on. I'm not a big
Realistically, the president doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of power. That's mostly in the legislature, but because of you know, the way things work, the people don't actually get well represented, and a lot of that I think has to do with the way we do campaign finance in this country.
Yeah.
You can literally be bought by a corporation. It's legitimized bribery.
It's the same here. We're trying to get that exposed and transparent where the money's coming from. It's the coal industry. It's other industries that are funding our politicians here as well. Yeah. I mean, we had a guy in our last. We had an election this year, and there was a guy running, Clive Palmer, and he's a big magnate. Really, he's made a lot of money. He invested something like 40 million into his campaign, which is astoundingly huge for our country. He still didn't get in, but now they're introducing limits of how much you can spend in a campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because, you know, that's one of the things that people seem to like about Trump, even though Bernie did it better. You know, is that Trump was self-financed.
Yeah.
You know, here's the problem with self-financing. You paid your own way. You are going to take care of your interests. The way Bernie Sanders did it was right. He said, okay, I will never take big donor money, and he didn't. In fact, if you remember Martin Shkreli, that dude who he bought a pharmaceutical company and jacked the price of insulin up by like 3,000%. Literal number. He tried to donate money to Bernie Sanders' account. He's like, no, that money is going straight to a charity. You have nothing to do with me. You know, and all the money Bernie got for his campaign was, you know, the limited amount of public funding that they get anyway, and small donors.
Wow, that's integrity right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I didn't really know that. No, I knew about the other incident, but not so much about Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Oh wow, there you go. Gee, if only we had more of those, huh?
And it's funny because if you look at the Overton window on the global scale, Bernie is actually a centrist.
Right.
Funny because he's so fantastically to the left in the United States, but everywhere else, like, I mean,
he's right down the middle.
Yeah, it's like it's par for the course. What are you celebrating him so much?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. The world leaders at the moment are just mind-boggling. Boris Johnson, what the hell? Trump, the hell, and our prime minister, just what the hell is going on here? Just not that we hold much sway where we are really, but with the UK, US, it's just wow. What is going on? Putin up in the north. Oh, wow. Just what a world. And then on top of that, you've got underlying beliefs, which is why your channel's so good. You expose that with talking with people from various backgrounds, which is really good, and various faiths, which is just fantastic, because these ideas really fuel part of politics as well. You know, really, don't they?
A little bit.
People's beliefs form their choices. I watched The Family on Netflix. Have you seen that one?
I watched some of it.
Yeah, I skipped through it, but it was quite interesting.
Hang on, is that a? Oh, I'm thinking F is for Family.
The family with their connections with the White House, having covering up scandals when people cheat on their wives, politicians cheat on their wives, so they have a safe house for them. Just their involvement with politics.
Yeah,
It's
I know
great.
that it exists. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's influence, but from what they're showing there, there's a fair bit of influence going on if you're to believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, American politics is kind of fucked, especially like on the Republican side, because it's all like it's. Some people are going to hate me for saying this, but it's prosperity gospel shit.
Mm. Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jesus said the weak will inherit, or the meek, not the weak, the meek will inherit the earth, and here we are with all these Republicans that are like, oh no, but the rich people are the people that need the breaks. It's
That's right. That's right.
no, no. That, that,
Again, that's part of the realization, but where you see, we believe in this. However, we live our lives like this, and that's when you realize with religion, there's too many false dichotomies and things going on. There's no link between the two. We believe this, but we live like this, and that again is a step away from that belief, right? It's just I love the political ads from the candidates in the Bible Belt and so on. I love those. We believe in the Bible and guns, and they're
yeah.
shooting and vote for me, keep your guns, and I love that stuff. It's just it's hilarious because it's frightening and scary, and you have no choice but to laugh at it, because if you don't, you'd hang yourself or do something else.
I mean, you laugh, but at the same time, like while you're laughing, you start sobbing because it's like these people are going to have power very soon.
That's it. That's it. And then back into the shower and scrub.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh wow.
Many a layer of skin have been lost because of the roughness of the sponge I'm using.
That's right. Don't they say? Isn't it true that you lose all your cells are renewed after 7 years or something like that? Well, this is just quickening up that process. It's a new you every month, especially around campaign time. Oops, another new me. Scrub.
Oh hell.
You didn't look like this a month ago. You're clean shaven. You the slightly different shade in the skin.
Yeah, it's a little more pink because you've lost layers of skin, and the top layer hasn't been exposed to air as long, so you still got that,
that's right.
kind of rosy color.
All right, rosy and pink. Oh, it looks like election time. How did you know? How did you guess? Yeah. Your shower's clogged. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you start using those stoppers and, either pay someone to do it for you or, scrub out the excess skin cells yourself.
That's right. Oh boy. Oh, yes. And yeah, skin cells are another fascinating thing in terms of deconversion. When you look into that aspect of biology, yeah.
I want to know how you're going to connect this.
Skin cells. Well, yeah, it comes into that understanding how cells work, and cells, how they split and so on, and which leads me through to things like mutations and people who aren't animals born with two heads and so on, and at a cellular level it's just imperfect. The idea that we're created in God's image. What does that mean? What does that mean to someone born born with cells that that aren't working properly. That people who have lifelong sclerosis, I think it's called sclerosis, and so on. That condition of the skin, and there's no real cure for things like that. So
You might be looking for like eczema, because
yeah,
sclerosis to do with the spine.
oh, sorry, I'm getting it mixed up. Yeah, there's something else it's called. It's a skin condition, eczema, so on. Yeah, it's things like that, and and you look at things like that, and to say, so if we're born in God's image, he's got he's riddled with disease. He's he's got terrible skin conditions. He has. I mean, when you imagine a monster that has everything that humans are afflicted with, he must look hideous. something out of a sci-fi movie from the 70s. Just a really crappy rubber monster that has every disease under the sun. Yahweh, worship me. It's like, please don't touch me.
I mean, when you put it that way, I kind of imagine Yahweh looking. Have you seen the movie 300?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember Ephialtes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I imagine God looking right now. Thanks to you, I will forever picture Ephialtes when.
They should put that on the Sistine Chapel. that should be the new tourist attraction.
I was doing a little research for a video, and I discovered in that research, because no one seems capable of coming to an agreement on how much the Sistine Chapel by itself is worth. But the numbers I saw for the value of that building ranged from 300 billion, which is a spectacular amount anyway, up to 2 trillion.
Right.
By itself, the Sistine Chapel is worth anywhere between 300 billion and 2 trillion.
Sold. Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I went to the Sistine Chapel. I stood there. I'm also a bit of an artist, so I really felt moved when I was there. I did. I wasn't religious. It was really just wow, that an individual can do this sort of work. It was just beautiful, right? And I actually hid in the corner because they get you to move on after. Have you ever been there?
No, but I actually really would like to, because I mean, we're talking. Okay, as much as I do detest the Catholic Church, the architecture and the art in Vatican City just has to be spectacular.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, and well, what they do is that because there's so many people going through, they get you in groups to stand there for about 15 minutes, and then they move you on. They say, okay, next group, right? You can't actually stay there for as long as you want. They just move you through. So I actually sort of hid myself as the groups came in and rejoined new groups, so I could stay there for an hour. It's like, screw you guys. I wanted to look at this. I didn't travel halfway around the world to not look at the Sistine Chapel, right? So I was sort of hid and joined new groups and just marveled at this thing, and it is beautiful. I can see what they mean by it being worth so much. I get it. I mean, it's so iconic to the world. But it seems like they're just pulling figures out of their ass, really, aren't they? Like, and it's kind of also putting worth on religion, And I just feel that just separate it. If you're talking about the art, yes, I get it. It's worth a lot of money. If you're talking about where it is, no, just get over yourselves, please.
Yeah.
But that's incredible. Yeah.
I actually would hope that architecturally Vatican City would be worth a shit ton of money, because, I mean, just consider how much money the Catholic Church spent having it done.
That's right. And there's that classic renovated image of Jesus that's doing the rounds that happened a number of years ago. That one of a saint? That one that they repainted, and was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually know exactly which one you're talking about. I think it was in
it
Spain.
was. Oh, was
I
it
don't know
Spain? Okay,
why the church didn't have this. I mean, when was this portrait made? Like the 16th century?
something like that.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
profoundly old painting, and
Yeah.
they didn't have it secured in any way.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
this elderly woman just takes it upon herself to fix it, and suddenly we have derpy Jesus. You literally can Google derpy Jesus, and that's
Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
um. But I
Yeah.
mean, I don't believe Jesus was a real person, but I'm offended by what she did because
Yeah.
it's
For he-
art
for yeah.
and she
Exactly. Yeah.
destroyed it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
absolutely forever destroyed it. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's oh no, that honestly, I find that well intentioned as they were, I find that lady's actions to be
Mm.
unforgivable.
Yeah. It's pretty crap. Yeah.
You know,
Going
'cause, I
going
mean,
back to what you,
survived so long to have that done to it.
yeah, yeah. In the age of the internet, no less.
Ugh. Well,
So
of course, before the internet, they probably would have been able to kill her and get away with it. But
that's right. Yeah, that's right. You said something interesting there. You don't think Jesus was a real person, or do you think he may have been a conglomerate of people?
I mean, so let me specify that a bit. There may have been a dude, and honestly, back then the name would have been Joshua.
Mm,
Jesus is a
mm,
Greek translation of the name. His name would have been
mm,
Joshua,
mm.
or Yeshua,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yep.
translates to today's name, Joshua.
Mm,
Um, there may have been a guy who went around preaching. He certainly didn't perform any miracles. There may have been like offshoot Jewish rabbis that were trying to promote a more peaceful
mm,
message,
mm,
and they just turned it into this amalgam that they called Yeshua, which
mm, mm,
translate then became Jesus. And but as far as someone who walked around, had 12 dudes, which, by the way, being as anti-gay as the Bible is, traveling around with 12 dudes is potentially kind of gay.
that's right. That's right.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna throw that
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, but
Well,
I mean, when you're talking in the context of uh, people who, in their time and place, hated gay people,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
you kind
mm-hmm.
of should begin to fear for their safety a little bit.
That's
Of
right.
course, Mary Magdalene probably would have felt perfectly safe, honestly.
That's right. And being someone like that progressive for that time is what they claim. Okay, because they did. People like to say, apologetics like to say Jesus was so progressive, right, in his philosophies and things. He'd have women as apostles, right? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah, you'd think.
To me, maybe that's just me in this time and age, in this day and age. But however, I feel that someone claiming they're son of the God that made everything would have an equal opportunity at the apostle league, right?
Yeah,
You think so? Yeah, you think so. But anyway, but what was the last temptation of Christ, Scorsese? Remember when Jesus had that fever dream? Do you remember seeing that?
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Last Temptation?
Nope.
It's
No,
it
I have
it
seen Passion of the Christ, though. That was
yeah,
definitely torture
yeah.
porn.
Now, Last Temptation has got some really interesting bits. So near the ending, Jesus goes into a fever dream where he imagines being married and having kids and so on. It was part of the controversy at the time that people were protesting. Oh, how dare you believe this and say this and show Jesus in this way as being normal and human? My God, what are you talking about? That was an interesting part of the film, and it's very well made and well acted, and I do recommend it as a film. It doesn't really push agendas, the agenda very strongly. It's quite original in that regard. But yeah, that was part of the controversy, that Jesus was married, and obviously in the Bible there's hints that he has brothers and sisters and so on. And there's theories, of course, that Jesus may have been gay. So who's to say? Or like you say, this figure known as Joshua, or I perhaps have been reading that there have been, it may be a few people joined up. There were a few going around, a bunch of guys who knew each other or whatever and believed the same things and taught the same things, and that could have been conglomerated into one figure. Who knows? It was so long ago. There's no evidence for it. Who knows, right?
Yeah. And realistically, very little of history was taken down literally. It was cloaked in allegory and metaphor. That really is an important thing that people should take note of when they talk about the Old Testament. So frankly, people like Ken Ham should feel like bigger idiots than most people like to talk about them being. Yeah. Because the Bible's literally true. We're talking about an ancient people that would take down history or events in an allegorical or metaphorical way. They didn't do literal. There's a reason parables were so popular.
Yeah, exactly. I think Ken's the only one who believes Genesis is literal. He's the last one to believe that. I believe. Look, I'm
pretty sure Frank Turk's one.
Oh, that's right. There's Ray as well. Why are they all? Oh, God. Actually, Purple Rhymes has a good comment there in terms of contradicting the Bible message that no woman should ever try to teach a man. That would be a good reason why there were no female apostles. So that's a good point. Which,
of course, I'm pretty sure it would have been
that was written
from the perspective of Paul, not Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. It would have been later on. Yeah, that's right. That would have been inserted there later. Yeah, just to cover that up, perhaps. Who knows? Why did Jesus just have male apostles? Oh, women can't teach. There you go. Fan fiction. And Edward shone in the light, like he sparkled in the light. Yeah. Actually, no. Change that to someone else. Yeah. Make it Judas. There you go.
Okay. So here's something I want to know. Go to the realm of imagination land and make believe like you're a Catholic again. And I'm gonna have to talk to Gray Skeptic and see if he can get you on for one of his atheist flashbacks, because I think that might be fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You get to play make believe like you're whatever religion you used to be again. It's
that sounds great. Okay.
I frightened people in mine. Yeah.
They're scrubbing themselves in the shower, Oh, B. Mills thought that. Oh my God. Scrub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you're in the land of imagination now. You're pretending like you are Catholic again. What are your thoughts on Judas giving up Jesus?
Oh, well, it's that thing. I suppose if I take myself back, I as a Catholic, I didn't really worry about that side of it too much. I know that may sound silly. I always took the Bible. I always took the good parts out of the Bible. I didn't really worry too much about Judas. Look, as far as I knew, but with Judas was that there were different counts of how he died. As far as I recall,
Or two or three.
Yeah, that's right, and
almost one for each gospel.
Yeah, and that's what always that's what I got stuck on. I suppose it was my skeptical mind when I read those parts of the Bible. That stuck out more so than the betrayal. As a Catholic, that's probably blasphemy in someone's books, but I didn't really get caught up on it. I got caught up on the fact that there were different counts for Judas. Even as a practicing Catholic, that's how I felt. It was strange that they had that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I was always always had one foot in the atheist. Um, you know, it's not a worldview of not believing because of those things. It was just strange. So as a Catholic, if I step back to being a Catholic, the first thing that comes into my head was I was always talking to God. I was always worried about what God was thinking about me. That's how my thought was every day. Every day. It was always about God, God this, God that. Pray, please God. It was begging, pleading, worrying, stressful, anxious, doubting, questioning, bad questioning, not good questioning. That was my daily life as a Catholic, and just I suppose I didn't want that anymore as well. It was unnecessary to live that way. Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely recall quite a bit of self-hatred as a Catholic.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, yeah.
how about Mr. Bear today? What are your thoughts on Judas's betrayal?
I don't even think about it. it's it's probably next to what would be the last thought on my mind? I can't even think what the last thought on my mind would be because it doesn't exist. It would be below that. Can I phrase it that way?
It's fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
The only reason I would think about it is to use it in like a Twitter war with somebody, saying Judas da da da, and I'd say why are there different accounts of Judas in the Bible, and just that would be the only reason I would think about Judas. And even then, it's not really. It's not. I wouldn't engage in Twitter war. It's really just asking questions. That's the way I do it out there. I don't confront. What's the point?
yeah, pretty much everyone on Twitter is already kind of set in their way. So, but I mean, the reason I ask is, because people talk about how necessary Jesus' sacrifice on the cross is and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll immediately turn around and start shitting on Judas.
Mm-hmm.
So Judas was very much a critical part in this. And, this thing that Jesus had to do would never have happened if not for Judas.
True. Yes.
So why do you hate Judas?
Exactly.
You should love him.
It had to happen so that Jesus would die for our sins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's so wrong about him? Yeah. When you put it that way, yeah. Yeah, that's right. But that's critical thinking. That's not having a villain for a story, as you said before, the hero's journey. Every hero's journey needs a villain. So
yeah,
it's the only way they can phrase it. And then when you step away from that and realize, well, so God's plan was, let's make the world, let's make all these people. Then I'm going to kill them, and then we're going to have a new covenant with my son who will die because what Judas did, etc. Again, the plan. What kind of a plan is this? It makes no logical sense to anybody when you step away from your inherent presuppositions and beliefs. You step away and you realize Judas had to happen so that we can believe what we believe. It's ridiculousness on a level of stupidity that you could never comprehend. And yet the billions do. Why? Because that's how they were brought up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking about people that literally believe that God came down, impregnated a woman with himself so he could sacrifice himself to appease himself and, prevent damnation that himself would inflict on us.
You've got it. That's it. Exactly.
If anyone out there lost track of me saying himself in reference to God, don't worry, you're not alone. I did too.
I think you did an admirable job. Very well played. Well played. Well played. And I think there are T-shirts out there that say these sorts of things, and they're just brilliant. It's create the world, kill everybody, make my son, kill my son, never show up again.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a brilliant universe. That's what a plan. And it's things like that as well. It's all these little things of seeds. You see shirts that question your religion, your beliefs. You hear people that question it. You see memes, you see images, you see cartoons, you see movies and films. And I mean, even things like Neil Gaiman, who wrote the Sandman comics and so on. Have you read those at all, or read Neil Gaiman at all?
No.
His Sandman comics are based on the 7 Eternals. So you've got Dream, Delirium, Destruction, Death, and Death is a female character. And there's a very excellent issue he wrote of the Sandman comic about Dream is Morpheus. He's a guy who's lost his realm, and he's traveling around with Death as she does her duties, right? So she claims a baby dies, and a guy dies on stage, a comedian, and just doing her duties, and just kind of it makes you think of your mortality once again, which is I came across this comic when I was about 18, and it's a very, very, very famous issue. If you look up the Sandman Death comic, it will most likely come up as this issue. Brilliantly written, brilliantly done. Again, just a small seed that's planted in my mind in terms of, okay, so this is death. In God's perfect world, death exists, and death is a gift. Because you go on to eternal life, okay? And then suddenly you see your family dying in agony or dying, in misery, and realize that lie is nothing to do with reality at all, But yeah, the Sandman comic, brilliant. I'm not saying that Neil Gaiman made me an atheist. I'm just saying that he's right. He's writing. So Neil, if you're out there, you're a legend. You're great. But yeah, just
Neil Gaiman ever watches this channel,
yeah,
slack-jawed and stunned.
He wrote a very good Doctor Who episode as well. I recommend that episode as well. The Doctor's wife, it's called. It's when the Doctor's TARDIS. Are you familiar with Doctor Who and so on?
Yeah, I love Doctor Who.
Yeah, right. So there was one there when Matt Smith was the Doctor, about 2010, 2011, and Neil Gaiman wrote the episode where the TARDIS physically becomes a woman, and it's and just their dialogue is brilliant. It's like he can finally talk to the TARDIS. Do you remember that one or seen that one? Yeah, Neil Gaiman wrote that, and it's just
nice.
Fantastic episode. Fantastic. He really can touch on elements of truth in human experience, which I love. And the truth is what I like. I like the truth.
Yeah, it's good to know and believe true things.
It is indeed.
Reasons I couldn't be Catholic anymore.
Yeah. How long have you been deconverted?
Well, let's see here. I graduated high school in 2005. Let's see. About a year after that, I tried to bring a friend of mine back to the faith at his mom's request. And about a year and a half or two after that, I was openly an atheist. So let's say I was 20 or 21 when this happened. I've been an atheist for 12 or 13 years.
Okay. Was it a gradual? Well, it sounds like it may have been a very quick thing for you.
Well, I mean, if you consider a year and a half or two as very quick, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I spent the majority of that time trying to prove that God was real and the Catholic Church was correct. I was actively trying to prove
and hence 2 years later, yeah, okay. Yeah. The logical conclusion is, yeah, where you are now.
Yeah. So yeah, I expect Tradcast will come along and be like, "You didn't actually try. You didn't actually believe.
You weren't a true Christian.
Yeah,
you weren't true. You didn't truly believe. You never did."
I was a true Christian, but I never was a Scotsman. How many people are going to get that?
That's nice. Oh, the fallacies. Bring on the fallacies. Look, it took a lot longer for me. I think because there was a lot of guilt. The Italians are very good with guilt. They are supreme with guilt. So I always felt guilt as soon as I questioned my belief in God. I always felt physical pain in my chest. I always felt anxious when I questioned it. And it took all those years to realize. That was one of the when you say along back in early in the interview when you said what was the straw that broke the camel's back, that was a part of it as well. It all rushed together, and that was a part of it that I didn't feel bad when I thought about when I considered there is no God. I realized I didn't feel bad about that or anxious about it. So it was a very big thing. And that's what I suppose the closest analogy cliche is when people say the veil dropped away. You know, you always hear that when people say the veil dropped away or the curtain opened. And for me, it was like, oh, okay, I can breathe normally now because I don't feel bad about it. And as cliched as that sound, it happened to me. It was like, oh, good. Okay. There's no weight on my shoulders. It was brilliant. It was great. It was all gone away. It had all gone away, but it took a long time to get there.
Oh. So you actually did have one of those moments where the realization finally hit and you're like, I can masturbate without feeling bad.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
That took a left turn real quick.
That's right. I mean, that's something, you know. And as a teenager, you know, one of you know, getting very personal now, but if you're thinking, you know, being a guy, you know, we're very visual, right? We need, you know, that's something that kind of helps as guys, right? So, and then you're thinking, well, maybe this woman is dead, okay, and then suddenly it takes you out of that moment, right? And you're thinking, well, this woman's dead, and they could well be in heaven, and they could well be watching me. Right, the moment's gone at that stage, right? So you got to, and this, so belief plays with your mind this way, and so you've really got to get over that and park it, so that you don't even have to worry about it. I'm not saying this happened all the time. I'm just saying that, you know, there may have been a collection of 1950s Playboy magazines or something. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, these women alive anymore. It plays on your mind because you believe that they're out there watching you, you know, and it's just a stupid thing to even contemplate. But it was there. It was there in the back of my mind, you know, and, you know, you have to light the candles and get the mood back, you know, and change gears, so to speak. And yeah.
Well, so you actually set the mood for yourself.
This goes back to 40-Year Virgin when he's in the bath with the candles,
See,
No,
mean, when I was growing up, all I had was like Christina Aguilera's "Dirty" music video because dial-up was still a thing at the time. So I had to hope like hell nobody would walk into the house.
That's right. Yeah.
True story, by the way, kids.
Yeah, good
almost
taste.
got caught once.
Good taste. I just noticed no name has joined there, and no name is saying, "What's the topic tonight?" You've come at a good time.
I mean, at this point, there is no topic, but when you say you've come at a good time, is that a
euphemism? Yeah, that's right. To be 15 again, and good times.
Hey, I mean, if I got to be 15 again today, I think I'd be more okay with it.
True. Because, very true. Yeah.
There's high-speed internet. There's Pornhub,
Oh, I know. And you can delete history. I mean, I couldn't delete anything. All I could do was hide things between the bed mattresses. And of course, that day the bed gets changed, and I need to talk to you about something. Oh yeah, what's that, Mum? Oh right, yeah. Oh, I'm just borrowing. They're my friends, And there was no internet back then. It was all hard copy.
See, I had one of those too. Well, I stole it from my dad.
You don't borrow that stuff. You take it forever. Yeah.
I mean, in that way, I kind of grew up in like a really weird golden age. You have to steal your dad's porno mag.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Actually, there was one time we moved house, and during the move, I didn't have time to pack any of that stuff up. I was pretty much, I was in someone's eyesight all the time, and I hadn't planned very well. And I had a stack of magazines. I had a good collection going on. So when we moved house, I snuck up into the roof, and they're up in the roof, and they're probably still there. So if anyone's watching, go to my old house. There's a great collection in the roof.
Not that anyone has any idea how to figure out who you are.
No, well, I don't think so. No, but if you really need to know, I can probably let you know. But look, you're missing out on a great collection. It was fantastic. something for every mood. Yeah. So. How did we get to here? I don't know.
It's hard to say. I mean, I first started losing control when we started talking about American politics, but no, here we are talking about our teenage masturbatory habits.
Well, we're talking about wankers. That's why. Professional ones.
I'll do it.
Yeah, professional ones. Yeah, professional jerk-offs who get paid to do what they do. Professionally jerk off 24 hours a day.
Oh shit.
No name says that's my favorite topic.
I mean, it's a good topic. I'm being honest.
Well, it really affects you. I mean, that's the thing as well. Sex before marriage. That was something that played on my mind when I met my first girlfriend. I was 16. Deflowered, so to speak, and it was one of those things that I thought, how will this affect me? I was a bit worried in that regard. Again, as ridiculous as that sounds, back then I was worried about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, one of the big reasons I kind of curse the Catholic Church now is my attitudes about sex at that point, because man, when I was a teenager, I had some offers and I turned all of them down.
No.
Yes. I was Catholic at one point. I turned down Now, this was before I'd had sex, so I didn't know how much better it felt than this.
No.
Uh,
And you relive it every day, don't you?
Yeah.
In those quiet times, you go, "Geez, if I'd just gone that way." If, yeah. How many offers?
I don't know, 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they
So
real? Were they
for
real
a
hotties
teenager,
as
that's
well?
pretty respectable,
That's good.
But
That's good. Yeah. Were they real hotties as well?
Hmm?
Were they real hotties? Were they
I
sexy
don't
ladies?
really remember any of them anymore, but I'm
Okay.
sure some of them were.
What was one of the offers? Do you recall how it came about? The one that sticks in your mind.
Okay, so the one that comes to mind most readily, I live in Ohio. Okay,
Mm.
uh,
The
shit.
the beauty pageant capital of the world.
um, okay, so this is back in the MySpace days.
Oh
So
wow, yeah.
I want everyone out there that's capable of remembering that particular social media site to just go back and
Yeah.
imagine when you could actually customize your page.
Oh wow, I know, and add music to it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good. Yeah,
but
it wasn't all bad.
So, all right. So on MySpace, I was friends with some cousins of mine that lived up in Michigan, and this I don't remember her name, but I remember she was blonde
Mhm.
and a friend of my cousin's.
Hmm.
Real hot, like what I remember, nice tight body,
Mhm.
and she's like, "So you want to fuck?" And I'm like,
Oh, so it was straight up like
well,
that.
first of all, wrong state. That's like 450 miles of travel.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm
Hmm.
not likely to go back up there anytime soon. But I'm a good Catholic. I literally said that
No.
I literally said that I'm a good Catholic to her. And
No. Oh, Flanders.
oh,
Oh boy. And her reaction?
oh, I think it was somewhere along the lines of, "Okay, you're lost."
How true.
And looking back at it now, yes, it is my loss.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
Because back
Okay.
when I was 16 or 17, I could have been fucking a 16 or 17-year-old hard body.
Yeah. The things you think about. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I can't believe you actually said that. That's yeah.
I did. Well, I don't know if I said exactly that, but
Close enough. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is close enough.
I can say that I've never really said that in real life. So at least I was probably thanks to my mum. I think I was quite progressive in terms of sexuality. I mean, she never really talked about it or anything, but it wasn't really a big issue in our house. You know what I mean? As compared to others I knew, where they couldn't watch certain movies, they couldn't watch. I mean, I was raised on Porky's and Animal House and all those sorts of movies, and my mum didn't bat an eyelid about those films. So I was lucky that way. I was lucky to have at least, I suppose, an open sexuality. I was lucky that way. Yeah, I never thought I was unworthy of sex and so on. I never really worried about it, but I realized after the fact that I did worry a little bit about it. But that was me doing that. That was me controlling my own thoughts.
Yeah. So No Name's got one for me. I heard that the lack of attractive ladies is why so many astronauts come out of Ohio. No,
Mm,
there.
mm.
I live in Ohio. I have lived in Ohio for the vast majority of my life. We are not wanting for attractive ladies. Um, It's just people that want to get out of Ohio. I have been trying since I turned 18 many, many years ago to get the fuck out of Ohio. Even joining the Air Force didn't get me out of Ohio for long.
I mean, that's a desperate move in some ways as well, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel you'll ever get out of there?
I don't know. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. And of course, Mark Caesar, you'd go to prison if you did that now. I'm talking about when I was that age. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I said even that. You know, I could have been a 16 or 17-year-old fucking a 16 or 17-year-old. So
yeah, I vouch for that. You did say that. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. you're off the hook. It's okay. Don't call the police. Don't call the police.
Shit, fucking. Like if I had an offer from a 21-year-old, I don't think I'd be able to do it because she'd just be so young. Like, I feel weird.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm like 45. You know, and that kind of age gap gets weirdly not weird.
Yeah. Well, it's midlife crisis time, so it's pretty much a dead cert that will happen if you're still a single man, and you'll buy the red sports car, and you know you'll do all those sorts of things. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, I kind of look forward to when I buy a Mustang out of desperation and start having sex with women that are barely able to drink. That's a weird thing to say. But
are you marking, do you have a calendar you're marking off the days with a red cross? You know, come on, almost there. Come on, 2035. Come on.
Oh shit, Mark Caesar. I'd ask her to dress like a hand. Hello, Rosie Palm.
Hello.
I missed you.
Well, we call that Mrs. Palmer and her 5 daughters.
Well, that's not one I've heard, but hey.
Yeah, Mrs. Palmer. Just say hello to Mrs. Palmer. Oh, look, hopefully you'll meet someone. Are you on dating apps or anything, or is that too personal a question?
No, I'm not on dating apps. I don't know. I'm one of those rare people that's like, dating apps are actually kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
A good friend of mine used them for a while, but he realized that there was far too many people on them, and then you feel this obligation to. I mean, no one wants to hurt anyone's feelings, but you get people who perhaps are more amorous towards you than you are towards them. So there is that aspect of if you make connections or talk to people through this app, you're obligated to keep something going, and it's very difficult. And he found that more difficult than just simply talking to someone in real life. So there wasn't that aspect of it that I never really thought about. Luckily, I'm happily married and everything, but I think it would be horrendous these days to be not so much single, but single and using those apps. I think, oh, what a nightmare. Good in one way. I mean, don't get me wrong. My wife, my brother met his wife online, so it does work for some. I'm not saying it's all bad. So I'm speaking from experience, but I've heard too much of the other way as well, where it's just a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think I'd feel weird on a dating app, like especially a phone one, because depending on how you qualify. When the millennial generation started, I would be an old millennial.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the people that grew up with landline phones and dial-up internet, and you know.
Yeah. Remember how long it took for photos to download on dial-up?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like once upon a time, if I wanted to watch like a music video on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to wait about 40 minutes for the
That's right.
whole thing to buffer. Then I'd listen to 3 minutes of music.
That's exactly right. It's incredible how far we've come.
Let's see. Mark Caesar wants to know what I'm drinking.
Mm.
What I am drinking is, this is an old logo, but Homestead Beer Company, Tenenbaum. It's a Christmas ale. It's delicious. Of course, since I am waging the war on Christmas, it's a holiday ale now.
It looks really good. Is it? It's an ale. Is it a dark ale? Is it? Well, it looks.
Yeah, for an ale, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, it's not a pale ale as we have here as well. We have the pale ales and different tones in the beer. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I love it.
Have you tried any Aussie beer?
Probably not.
Mm.
I might have had a Foster's at one point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Are you ever going to come down here?
I'd like to.
when you have enough money and time.
Fire or not?
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. Wait till the fires are out, then come down. You're more than welcome.
Yeah. Of course, if I hold that same standard to California, I'll never go to California.
That's right. They've had their fair share of massive fires, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
They can meet a nice Californian girl while you're there.
Oh. Yeah. It's well, we've been going for 2 hours, which is considerably longer than every interview I've had.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all good, man. This was a lot of fun, actually.
It's been good. Yeah, it's been good talking to
you. I do have one last question that I ask everyone that I interview.
Oh.
Do you have any holdovers from Catholicism that still mess with you, like fear of hell, sexual repression, any number of Catholic guilt trips that they love to do?
Oh, look, that's a really good one because we all have our down moments, and when I know it only happens, I'm more aware of my state of being now than I ever was. So now I realize when I'm down and I've got it's my lowest energy, I haven't eaten, I'm worn out, tired, etc. And I may get a pang of not so much Catholic guilt, but it's at that stage I realize that I'll hear something or read something. I'm a big reader, and I'll get that little pang again. So I'm not saying that anxiousness has completely gone away. It does get me when I'm really low, nowhere near as much as it used to, but since I've sort of stepped away from this last year, I've probably felt a pang of weird questioning, maybe a handful of times. Yeah, so it's almost like a little hangover. It's not like I've completely cut myself off and just gone, no, I don't feel any of that anymore. It's not true. There are moments, like I say, when I'm at that stage. At my lowest, and I'll feel something very strange, like not doubt. I can't say it's doubt, but just that. I feel weird, but it goes away a lot more quickly now as well. So it doesn't linger. Yeah, because I still attend mass. My kids still, they still have their communions and church events, and my son was confirmed this year, so I still attend the old mass service or funeral, as you do. Luckily, I don't feel anything at all in church. I just see it for the ridiculousness that it is. I still go up. I take the wafer. I bite into that sucker, I feel nothing at all in church. It's only when I'm at that stage in life when it could be a day when I'm off and I'll feel something, read something, and just go, a weird feeling, but it goes away. and that's it. And I'm hoping that will just fade away altogether. Very good question, though. Very good question.
Yeah, I'd expect it to stick around for a while because, I mean, I've already said how long I've been an atheist at this point, and occasionally I'll still feel that weird Victorian attitude towards sex and sexuality.
Yeah, really. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Like sometimes, like I'll see, I don't know, a couple making out on the street or something, and
Yeah.
this weird voice that shouldn't be there in my head is like slut.
Wow. Okay.
Where the
Yeah.
fuck did that come from?
Yeah. Well,
So
you
I would
realize,
expect it
yeah,
to,
realizing it is good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I'd expect it to stick around for at least a little while.
Yeah.
Now, but I mean, the important thing is it's not actually representative of who you are. It's just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
holdover that you long for to leave.
That's right. I know it's from my childhood of feeling included and feeling loved and feeling a part of something, and that's what I realize now. It's like, oh, I'm missing out on something. I think it's a better way to phrase that, if that makes sense. It's that feeling of I've missed out on something, or I'm missing out on something that was really good for me. In hindsight, wasn't good for me at all. And that's where I think I can quell the feeling really quickly when it rises up, because I can analyze it. I can look at it from the outside. Yeah.
So here's a couple of things that I want to address before we end. Stephanie Frost, there is nothing wrong with California girls. We're sexy as hell.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the literal fires that are burning in the state. So let's see, where's the other one? Oh, No Name wants to know what generation they are because they're 42. You are, from my understanding of the generations, Generation X. Have fun with that. But yeah, like I said a little over 2 hours ago, I like to start and end my interviews the same way. So, Mr. Bear, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel? And really whore yourself out. That is exactly what these interviews are for, is your self-promotion. So,
okay.
be as big a whore as you can.
Yeah, I'm only getting used to this part of it. Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm on YouTube. If you look me up as Mr. Bear Atheist, I'm on YouTube, and I started this year making response videos to theism, people who talk about theism. I try to make them very funny, include movie clips and so on, and my responses, and also just put some facts in there as well. So Mr. Bear Atheist on YouTube. Check it out if you want to. Please do.
Yep. And assuming StreamYard and YouTube are cooperating, which sometimes feels kind of like a rarity, you'll be able to find Mr. Bear's links in the description below. And yeah, definitely follow him on Twitter. Definitely follow him on YouTube. Definitely follow him everywhere else I have listed there. I'm looking at StreamYard right now. I don't have YouTube up because, well, internet in Ohio sucks. And it's not fast enough to keep up with YouTube and StreamYard at the same time. But yeah, definitely. I mean, shit. If you want real quick, Mr. Bear, just type nonsense into the chat and people will be able to click on the 3 dots next to your name and go to your channel.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't done that before, so let's have a look. I'm a bit of a noob with all this stuff, a bit of a newbie, so we'll just go. Good. It's okay. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I can't see where to do that. I can see the live comments on StreamYard.
Oh yeah, if you're in StreamYard, you can't comment.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, all right. That's okay.
One way or the next, at some point, YouTube will play.
Yeah, it'll be what it'll be. That's okay.
Yeah. Mr. Bear is one of those channels that I consider to be criminally undersubbed because he makes fantastic comments, or content, not comments. Comments too. But fantastic content for as short an amount of time. Hey, Mark Caesar actually put the link in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thanks so much. It's been really good talking to you. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll see you on Twitter as well, so it's always fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun having you on, man. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a collaboration at some point because
that'd be great.
I don't have other former Catholics on very often. I've had like maybe 4 or 5 out of the now 42 interviews I had.
Why is that? I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of people in the online atheist community are ex-evangelicals. So
okay, yeah, yep, and good on them because it's
that's a real good one to get out of.
That's right. That's right. Well done.
So is the Catholic Church.
Well, I was an altar boy once, so yeah.
Same.
Yeah. That could have gone bad.
Well, but yeah, everybody definitely subscribe to Mr. Bear. He's fantastic. And since you're already here, if for some weird reason you haven't subscribed to me, subscribe to me too.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But that is going to do it for this one, everyone. Take it easy, and I'll see you all in the next one.